When looking back at the 2017 NBA draft, the first round ended up having some very good players. Jason Tatum definitely looks like he made that big leap. Donovan Mitchell has been hands down the biggest surprise in the draft, and also let's not forget the Kentucky boys in De'Aaron Fox and Bam Adebayo. And then there's the first two picks of the draft, Lonzo Ball and Markelle Fultz. According to most people, these two players have been the biggest disappointments of the draft. Now, have they been underperforming compared to the franchise-leading expectations of a number 1 and number 2 pick? Yes, they have. But are they complete failures and busts as most media outlets and casual basketball fans paint them out to be? Hell no. Here's the thing about being a top 3 pick. When you get drafted, you have pretty hefty expectations. You have the expectations to be a franchise changer. And it might be harsh, but it just comes to the territory. Just the way it is. If you don't fulfill those expectations, that's where fans and media outlets start to label that player as a disappointment or bust, especially if a superstar was drafted to another team picks after, which makes the situation really worse for the front office. But in the case of Lonzo and Markelle, they are nowhere near bust. When most high-profile rookies come out, you fully expect them to be up and running from the start, especially being a high pick. You see Luka having the year he had, Trae Young, Zion, Ja Morant, all of them proving themselves from the start. And then there's some that just blossom a little late. For example, Brandon Ingram. Up until the end of last year, a lot of people and Laker fans are really concerned about Brandon Ingram's overall progression. It was his 3rd year in the NBA, and fans are starting to get really impatient. A top pick not showing superstar flashes in his 3rd year would tend to do that. And trust me, I've seen all the jokes he was getting on Twitter, especially with the whole spent his VC on tattoos thing. The Twitter streets was on his neck. But it all changed towards the end of last year when Ingram really started to blossom. After the All-Star break, he averaged 20 points on 50% shooting from the field. Shaw mentioned another late bloomer in Victor Oladipo. The reason why I'm bringing this up is to give you guys a good reminder that we shouldn't be quick to judge players just after a few years, especially in this one and done era. It takes time for most of these players to develop, and unless you're Zion, most NBA players ain't coming out here with NBA ready bodies. Look at today's superstars. Most of these stars look totally different coming into the league. So when people are quick to give up on Fultz and Ball as quick as they did, it kind of confused me. From Markelle Fultz's standpoint, it's just been a mix of really unfortunate situations from him. Getting drafted to a team with already ball dominant guys in Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, getting hurt in summer league was really stunning his rookie year growth. Then when he came back, his jump shot, Lord, his jump shot did not look right at all. This is probably where a lot of people gave up on the guy. The hitch on his shot, Jesus, I haven't seen a hitch worse like that since Chuck Hayes free throws, and those were no bueno. And with him coming back with his weird jump shot, people obviously wanted to find out how the hell his jump shot regressed, and it turns out he ended up injuring his shoulder, and he had to get the fluids drained out the back of his shoulders. It's also been said that he can barely raise his arms, but ended up still playing to help his team, and that was probably the worst decision he could make. When he was playing, he just didn't look like that same guy that looked really good in summer league. And with all the injury problems he was going through, Fultz just ended up playing only 33 games in his 2 seasons with the 76ers, and ultimately he was finally traded going to the Orlando Magic. And when that happened, a lot of people officially declared Markelle Fultz as a bust almost instantly. It got to the point where people were even thinking how long he has before he's out of the league. But with that being said, the trade really gave him a fresh new start. In Philly, the Sixers had championship ambitions, while the Orlando Magic are a team that was always floating around in that lottery/8th seed area. So I thought the drop off of team expectations could do wonders for him. And so far in his first year with the Magic, he's shown good flashes of the Markelle Fultz we remembered at Washington, taking advantage of his second chance. After going 2-4, head coach Steve Clifford ended up replacing DJ Augustine with Markelle Fultz, and from there on, Fultz has been taking advantage of his second chance. And while the Magic roster is just full of a lot of question marks, Fultz is still able to show off his offensive abilities. And ever since his first start, we've been starting to see a more confident Markelle Fultz. Now, his stats doesn't ooze all-star, but he's averaging 12 points, 4 assists, and 1.6 steals, all while shooting 50% from the field, on a team that has a lot of shots to be spread from Vucevic to Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross. Now, that's not too shabby to be honest. And more importantly, the team's offensive rating drastically improves when he's in the game by a pretty big margin. So it tells you the type of improvement he brings to the team. But like I was saying, with him showing flashes, he looked really impressive in some games. And the best one that comes to my mind off the top of my head was that game he had against the Lakers. He really didn't showcase his jump shot, but even without it, he looked really good, just attacking the rim at will. And the thing that made my eye pop out the most was the fact that he got the best of LeBron a few times, just fearlessly attacking LeBron and being successful doing so. So it tells you how far he came when it comes to his progression and his confidence. If he regains that jumper that helped him become the #1 pick, we could be talking about Fultz as a possible all-time comeback story. Meanwhile, in the West Coast, Lonzo Ball had his own unique reasons as to why he was underperforming. As most of you guys know, the big baller brand hype train was damn near out of control. I mean, from UCLA to being drafted by the Lakers, the movement was at an all-time high. Here's this amazing 6'6" point guard who turned the UCLA program around with his dad being a big-time personality and troll, always with some amazing hot takes at his disposal. disposal. Not to mention his two brothers, one who tore the internet down, scoring 92 points in a game as a sophomore. And from there, BBB Mania took off, as they were the talk of every sports and media outlet for about 2 years. But as Lonzo began his career with the Lakers, people had crazy expectations for the guy. Magic Johnson comparisons, Steph Curry would bounce. Trust me, I've seen it all. And when most people see him get hyped up to that point, they expect nothing less than the hype that was given to him by his dad and fans. And from Summer League and on, people's expectations for him were out of this world. In the Summer League, he looked really good, but his weaknesses in his game were spotlighted and really became a recurring problem when the regular season took place. From his non-aggressive tendencies, struggling with his unique jump shot, and struggles finishing at the rim, Lonzo struggled a lot in his rookie season. Now, he still showed a lot of flashes, especially on defense and playmaking, but as far as his rookie expectations go, he really disappointed in the eyes of many people. Personally, just by watching Lonzo in Summer League, I understood that it might take him some time to adjust to the NBA. As most people know, that transition is very tough on most one-and-done players. With Lonzo, you see the talent that he has, but you also know that he needs to get stronger and adjust to the pace and physical demands of the NBA. And with the way players like Kyle Kuzma and Donovan Mitchell were playing, people started to bring up the question, was Lonzo the right pick at the number 2 spot? And in his second year, he had even more pressure to perform, as LeBron arrived into town with his championship window being as short as it is. Lonzo looked much better, especially playing on the court with LeBron, but to many, he still wasn't that franchise-changing point guard that was promised by so many people. He kept showing more flashes here and there, but with problems from Luke Walton favoring Rondo over him to his left ankle injury, you just got the sense that if the price was right, the Lakers would move on from him. And that following offseason, they did, trading him in that Anthony Davis trade. Now, from a personal standpoint, I would have favored trading Kyle Kuzma instead of Lonzo, but David Griffin is no dummy and probably wouldn't Ingram and Ball anyways. And just like Fultz, most people started the label game with Lonzo, writing him off fairly early. But just like many players, being traded relatively young gave him a fresh start, which he's been taken advantage of in New Orleans. In his first season there, he's made pretty big improvements in his game, being more aggressive, upping his 3-point percentage from 33% to 38%. The man looks more confident with less motion in his shot and him ultimately getting more aggressive attacking the rim. Being one of the key parts in the Pelicans playoff chase, Lonzo has surely progressed. No, Lonzo isn't going to be the best scorer or probably the best player on a championship team, but that doesn't really matter as he can affect the game in multiple ways without scoring. To be honest, it's kind of similar to Ben Simmons. Plus, the guy really doesn't need to score a lot, with Brandon Ingram, Zion, and Drew Holiday taking those scoring responsibilities. And just like Kendrick Perkins, people are starting to backtrack all these Lonzo hot takes, realizing he still has the makings to still be a special NBA player. And like I said before, a lot of that comes down to the fact that people are starting to have more realistic expectations for the guy. He's not going to be what most people thought, because those expectations people have for him were just unrealistic. He's not Magic, and he's not a 6'6" Steph Curry. But what he is an amazing talent that still has amazing potential, especially playing with a very talented Pelicans team. And given Markelle Fultz and Lonzo's current progression, I still believe that they can be stars in this league given their trajectory. Like I mentioned before, with Victor Oladipo and Brandon Ingram, I've seen many players coming to their own after taking multiple years to get used to the NBA. And if both of them continue to progress the way they have, they still have a good chance of silencing all the critics that written them off pretty early. If you guys like this content or any of my past content, don't forget to like and subscribe to Tings. But that's it for today's video. Until next time, it's your boy 22 Khalil, and as they always say in Japan, Jama today. Peace.